fight with the audio from Azubu Frost.
You can see him high-fiving as they were still doing the last damage to the turret. That's just how strong they knew they solidified the win after that ace.
Yeah, as soon as that kill went down, they got that 5th one. They were like, yep, we've got this. Let's go ahead and set the attack move orders. And the high 5s, the high 10s, they're coming out. Congratulations. A very, very good game. And that was a really cool strategy. I've not seen something quite like that. Now, I do know they like the Lux pick. Of course, everyone here has been really liking Jace for that top lane. So, some of those pieces, could have been expected from this lineup. But the execution there was really, really strong. The Blitzcrank counterpick for the bottom lane really, really set them apart there. There were a couple of counterpicks from the odd one, but overall, Cloud Templar coming in with Mad Life and Boom to make those fights at the bottom lane was great. The decisions to say, no, Cloud Templar, you're going to gank top until we get first blood, and then once you do it, it's fine, we're good, peace out, let it go. And Shy snowballed that advantage himself. That one-on-one matchup that TSM so desperately needed, Jace came out first. They had every option to counterpick for Dyrus and let him get back in there, and he started out equal, but Cloud Templar showed up first. Well, I wouldn't say he showed up first. Odd One did show up for a gank there with Exhaust, but Shy escaped that situation. And then once that had happened, Cloud Templar finally showed up. They got the first blood, support from Rapid Star, the laser coming across from the mid lane, and from there it was all over. Shy able to escape every single gank after that one, start his lane 3-0 over Dyrus, and with that amount of power, there was not a lot of options left over for TSM to win a fight like that. There was just simply too much pressure from Jace, too much pressure from the overall team. Azubu Frost played it perfectly.
They did a great job. They followed those keys to victory. And we'll be right back after these quick messages with Game 2 to see if Azubu Frost can dash the hopes of Team Solo Mid. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to LA Live in downtown Los Angeles. Rivington III here along with David Freak Turley. Welcome back to Game 2 of Team Solo Mid versus Azubu Frost. Freak, Game 1 was amazing for Azubu Frost. They came out so strong, they didn't really let Team Solo Mid do anything else than an early aggression buff steal. But Cloud Templar did the same thing, continued to do it a second time. After that, it was kind of let go and forgotten about, but it was really Azubu Frost's game from almost minute 1.
Yeah, Azubu Frost, again, they played it so very well. They took the exact right advantage they needed. Again, that top lane focus just enough to snowball Jace ahead of Darius and then let it go and force elsewhere. But outside of that one fact, I was actually really impressed with Team Solo Mid. I think they played against that comp that I don't think I've seen a lot before. They played against it really, really well. Realizing that, their engagements have to be Flash Crescendo or Flash Wall of Pain. Their overall gameplay, they set up their bottom lane really, really well. KX had a very strong match overall. I like TSM. And the thing is, I don't think we've even seen everything from them just yet. They've got something in the works, kind of planned in secret, that Solo Mid can still bring out, and I want to see it come out here. I talked a little while ago when we were kind of filling time during the game remakes about Counterlogic NA's jungle invades. They've got a couple of really crafty ones planned out. We didn't end up seeing that from CLG NA before they were dropped out of this group stage. From Curse at the North American Regional, they had planned a double AD carry strategy with West Race taking Corki to the top lane. And they never got to bring it out. They were like, no, this isn't the comp for it. This isn't the game for it. This isn't the game for it. And I hate to see these teams show up to tournaments having special prepared strategies and then not actually use them. It's heartbreaking to know that they spend a bunch of time preparing for something that they're now too afraid to use when the chips are down. If you've got a strategy, you've got to bring it out. And this is now the do-or-die moment for Team Solo Mid. They're down 0-1 in the quarterfinals. They're the last North American team left. They're going to be stuck with 5th, 8th if they don't pull this back through. I want to see a 3-game series, guys. Do you guys want to see a 3-game series? The answer is yes.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Azubu Frost rolled through round robin on day 1. We had a chance to talk to them yesterday about taking on Team Solo Mid and preparing for the World Championship. Let's check it out.
Are you guys in the audience ready?
게임하고 이겼어요. 무대 연출 효과가 야외인데도 되게 좋은 것 같았고 무엇보다 게임하기 전에 세팅했을 때는 게 되게 편했어요. 첫 번째는 좀 가물가물했고 두세 번째는 확신.
이거는 한국 때부터 많이 해오던 거라서 그냥 좀 적응도 많이 돼 있었고 한 판씩 하는 거라서 좀 그 전략이나 픽뱅 같은 거를 좀 더 잘 짜는 쪽이 이기는 거라서 저희가 그런 거에 초점을 맞춰서 더 연습을 열심히 했었어요.
오늘 경기하면서 아무래도 가장 재밌었던 점은 아이즈랑 할 때 좀 되게 오랜만에 이렇게 재밌는 게임을 했던 것 같아요. 그러니까 뭐 아주부 썸머 결승 때도 물론 굉장히 재밌긴 했었지만 좀 텀이 있었잖아요, 지금. 그러니까 정말 좀 역시 이 맛에 LOL 하는구나 약간 그런 거 느꼈어요.
예전부터 좀 TSM이랑 제일 그러니까 회팀 중에서 가장 많은 연습 게임을 한 팀이 TSM이거든요. 그게 거의 1년 전이라서 TSM이 어느 정도 발전했는지도 궁금하고 그냥 만나는 게 좀 기대돼요. 그러니까 서로 다른 만큼 다른 색깔이 나올 것 같고 더 재밌는 게임이 나올 것 같아요.
일단은 그 OGN에서 그 마지막 그 시드 쟁탈전, 그러니까 그 2위를 그 가는 결정전 있잖아요. 거기서 시드를 빼앗겼는데 그거를 다시 되찾은 느낌이라서 되게 기분은 좋아요.
So you can see the minds behind Azubu Frost and how much they've taken into consideration that they don't have the best first game in those single games. Taking that into consideration, they go through champion select practice, the format of everything happening, and they're really able to come out strong here. It was awesome that they actually practiced that. It was something we mentioned earlier in the week, that they kind of have a curse in the first game of any best of 3.
It turns out they've completely turned that one around now. They're still undefeated in this tournament and ready to go. You saw in the interview they talked about having played with Solo Mid back in the day there when they used to be MIG Frost. But guys, ready to go. Let's get Champion Select underway. It's now time for TSM to figure out what they can do to counteract all of this. Azubu Frost now on the blue team, first pick and ban. Still some similar drops, and wow, they did their research because, yeah, TSM, I just talked with someone and they were like, oh yeah, TSM finally added Orion to their lineup, and already they know it as a ban. Yorick dropped out once more. They're keeping those kind of, a couple of similar bans there in play, and I think the exact same 3 coming out from Solo Mid. They still know what they want to get rid of from Azubu Frost.
Shy is going to be the first to pick for his team. See the team discussing this out. Team Solo Mid sitting quietly as they recognize how to counter whatever comes out of Azubu Frost within these picks. Champion Pool says they will be picking up Ezreal, and that's still a safe pick even to show that AD carry first since he is so much sought after.
And it's weird, though, because we didn't see Jace rush after. We did see, Jace being really, really important the first time around, but they didn't care so much. Dyrus insta-locking that. SoloMid, again, looking at those two champions. Karthus, their first pick, the first game, they still like their chances with Karthus. And like, oh, great, you gave us Jace. Awesome, let's run that. Now, Ezreal was taken by Shy. These same three champions still at the very forefront of these teams' minds. Alistair, yeah, that's still banned. I was about to be like, oh, Alistair's still available. No, it's not. But, all the other supports are still in there. We've got Sona, we've got Nunu. All the champions players like to run completely still available. And now Frost looking at something a little bit different, picking up quite a few different champions here, looking now at Skarner and Vladimir. So let's break down what these picks mean so far. With Shy first picking Ezreal, that's a very safe pick. Ezreal's got no really bad matchups. He scales well throughout the game. He's just kind of above average at everything, and you can pick him first and know that you're going to have a strong lane and a strong late game. So sure, let's put in Ezreal. It's a very safe pick. There's no counter pick options here. Solo mid grabbing Karthus and Jace. Now, normally you kind of consider the mid lanes as counter pickable, where you can pick a champion and your opponent knows he's going to 1v1. You will pick something that beats that in a one-on-one matchup. Well, Karthus is very, very safe. He can farm from a distance. He doesn't have any real problems with counter-pick lanes, so they're fine just to run that. Additionally, he's going to scale throughout that game and be a very, very big carry and turn those late-game fights around and make them very strong for solo mid. That Jace top lane, similar situation. Has a lot of really good matchups, scales well throughout the game, can really bully his opponents out, whereas Karthus likes to farm. Jace will bully opponents. You saw that, actually, in that prior game where Shy picked up 3 kills against Darius. And that's just kind of what happens there with Jace. So they've now picked up Graves as well, wanting that for their AD carry. Once Ezreal's been locked out, they've got a lot of damage output and a lot of bully potential in this game so far.
We'll have to see what they choose out here next. Reginald does have his mid, but he could also be choosing Fork Special here. We do not see the support out yet. Chaos is going to be grabbing his Graves, and it looks like they may be running that blitz. It's going to be a very aggressive bottom lane, but who wants to pull a Leona?
Exactly. That's why they've grabbed that right away. Instead of that normal Sony you might expect to see, you saw that Blitz Sona counter pick there, which worked so very well. I think, I would have said they would have won that bottom lane in general if not for so much support from the odd one. But the Leona insta-click there, Nunu another option there, which would work as well in this kind of setup. And actually, Nunu blood boiling a Skarner wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So we might see a different melee support there in the lineup. But they've now got to pick their top or mid lane here because Vladimir could have gone to either location. But they're pretty well secured on this lineup. They know they have to fight Jace up top lane. They know it's a scary situation. And they're actually, Solo mid here actually last picking their jungle, so we'll see if that ends up being something a little bit different here. But right now, it looks like maybe it's Taric. Again, it could have been Nunu, could have been Leona, but they do want to pick a tanky melee support to withstand that rocket grab and then find something that will lane well against Jace up top.
This is going to be a tough pick here for the odd one. He is looking for that jungle. He does have Reginald's Karthus. We're going to have to see what they wait out. That Aurelia pick is going to be great for Jace top. Able to sustain, and he goes with his mainstay. They lock in the Maokai. He's going to be very supportive for the lanes and set up each one for those kills, as he does.
Well, this is really, if you go back in time far enough, you would have seen an MLG tournament there where Maokai was a really, really big deal for solo mid. It's what they went to when they were down. They came from the lower bracket and fought the old Epic Gamer team led by Dan Din, where they picked Maokai, I think, 4 or 5 times in a row and 4-0'd Epic. And I remember a graphic coming up there, which was Dan Din's face, and it said, "Ban Maokai? No way." They got 4-0'd for it, though. So Maokai really a champion that SoloMid likes to go to when they're a bit down. It's going to give Oddone a lot of support power. This is going to be really, really strong. So both these teams going pretty team fight centric. We'll see if there's going to be any special tricks coming out here. Both Skarner and Blitz able to pull out really crazy 1v5s. So let's hear it now for these two teams. If you want to see TSM bring it back and make it 1-1, let me hear you guys for Team Solo Mid.
Now on foreign soil with already one game under their belt, looking to dash the hopes of Team Solo Mid. If you're rooting for Azubu Frost, let him hear you for Azubu Frost! Freak, this is one of those matches that could easily steal a fan. Perfect play here is what it's going to take to move on to that next game. Azubu Frost looking to take this match to knock out the favorite from North America, Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, we're about to go into the game, and we have, again, the last vestiges of hope for these two regions. The only North American team left, TSM. The only Korean team left, Azubu Frost. It's going to be down to this. TSM must win this game to stay alive in the tournament. It's single elimination, and it's best of 3, and they're down 0-1. If you're just tuning in online or in person, the games are heating up. Let's get this into the game right now.
as they make their way. They make their way out of base. Cloud Templar on that Skarner is going to be the hard initiator for the team. 0-0 in the first 25 seconds for contention.
Yeah, I mean, they're already going for something crazy. You can see Team Solo Mid already grouping up at the top of the map. They want to go for something, and they're right across the way from Shy, who's sitting there. And we talked about this in the break last game, where they will go for blind grabs or blind stuns in the brush to look for opponents. Oh, Madlife got a ward down, and it didn't get cleared out. Solo Mid weren't ready for it. So, that would have been so good for them if they could have cleared that ward. But that was a great read there. Madlife knowing Solo Mid might go for something crazy, and he got the ward across the wall, not pulling a Skara, actually landed it in the brush. You guys watch that video, you know what I'm talking about.
Rapid Star now seeing them in middle as they all head towards the bottom of the map, just kind of congregating together, keeping that crowd control as it should be. Obviously, Rocket Grab being taken by Xpecial, so he's looking to grab somebody over the wall. Bloom down bottom as they may take out the golems here.
We may still see Solo Mid go for something a little bit aggressive. They're still together. They just put some saplings down as well, and they are going to regroup here and go towards the bottom of the map. They're going to look for Rapid Star. Those late wastes almost finding him out. They're still putting some down, trying to find the opposition. Chaos listening in, trying to see if Buckshot hit anything. You do get some tactile feedback, as well as your passive turning on if you do hit something as Graves with that Buckshot. Solo Mid have not found anything yet on this map, but they have forced Azubu Frost to actually push in for their own mini golems, which is a bit rare of a start here. It's like Rapid Star not getting anything, but Reginald actually did steal away the big Wraith, so even with all that, they did get something crazy started. And Xpecial did pull in that golem as well.
Very nice as they start this off going for the golem. Team Solo Mid, a very nice pressure here, and that's actually what I was expecting from the other Blitzcrank game, that to be pulled. Team Solo Mid with quite an advantage as they start denying busts. We saw Azubu Frost do this as well last time, but they weren't able to this time. Still a little bit of aggression towards that top lane as they have done the swap.
And Cloud Templar, realizing that a golem buff was likely, has already moved towards the golem, but TSM actually pinged that golem. I think they're reading that situation. They had warded the Wraith camp. They know he's on the way. Look at Ogwen right behind Cloud Templar here. The sapling goes down. They know they're here.
Looks like they will pressure onto this. You see the Ogwen just on the other side, knowing, getting the pings down. They're saying, get out of there on Azubu Frost's side. There's just too much power and crowd control coming in. Ezreal, Cloud Templar.
He's still got Smite, though. He could steal it away with the ward.
He is trying to stay just off of that distance, but they're bringing a lot of team there. They have the ward placed perfectly. They can see on both sides of that blue wall, and they're going to continue to go for it. Rapid Star just on the other side. We can see a big special there. They're all coming down for this. What a fight for blue buff at 3 minutes into the game. They are really wanting to deny this, knowing that theirs is down. They want this back with vengeance. They are going to push TSM out of there. The ward is just giving them too much control of this position. They get a tick onto Madlife. The Dazzle goes down and they're not able to take back out of the beautiful pull-in. Madlife for sure will go down for first blood. He flashes away and the General picking up blue and a kill. Woong forced out of the fight as well. A lot of flashes being blown here and Azubu Frost on their heels quickly.
Wow, they made it and took so much time. The crowd, this home crowd for TSM really getting behind them. Wanted to make this a thing. And look at the setup for Solo Mid. Chaos soloing top as Graves. They've got Jay soloing bottom there from Dyrus, and everyone else playing roam or pushing somewhere else. So an interesting setup here. Pretty similar actually to what we saw from Dignitas as well. This time though, it's coming out a little bit better overall for TSM here. They're making some nice lane swaps that are working out just so far. Everyone else roaming around. Some of that of course was the blue steal, but overall that fight was about TSM buying enough time that they could finally get their Smite back up. Shy, though, putting on some great pressure onto Chaos.
Shy now having to back off a little bit, though. He is right near his turret, and we do have Xpecial coming back up. There is a ward in that, but it's going to be Team Solo Mids in that early aggression. They put down some good wards just by the minion. Oh, over the shoulder of Shy. And it looks like the minion wave will prevent them from diving anything here, trying to get that Power Fist to do anything. However, Xpecial's level 1, so he's not going to Power Fist anyways.
Yeah, once he gets that experience, though, it's going to be a scary situation. And you got to be worried a little bit about these 2-on-1s on both sides. Anything with a Blitzcrank is always a super, super difficult lane to deal with. Blitzcrank, that Rocket Grab, and a Power Fist with hits level 2 is just really, really brutal, and it's really good at setting up kills on a solo lane. And Aurelia, being so melee-based, is going to get set up for that kind of situation. You can see the counter trades, though, here from Azubu Frost. They're going to have similar situations here because they've got Tarek. That Dazzle is a lot of damage available there with the crowd control. You're going to have really good setups there for Ezreal. Uh-oh, and here comes Maokai waiting around on the wing. If they can get a rocket grab, this will turn into a kill on Shy.
There's a lot of damage to come from these three champions and crowd control as well, so Shy will not be able to trade back too much to help the turret. So, to get turret help, rather. So they are going to push down onto this, throwing the sapling out to give them some ward vision. And it looks like they're just going to be able to clear this one out, really dominating Shy's lane. They do not want him to be farmed up this time.
This was actually perfect play from solo mid. There's a couple of options when you go in a 1v2 lane. There's about 3. Number 1, you set up a tower dive. You go in behind, push from the turret, and go for the kill. Number 2, you zone. You don't push, and you just try to get the champion killed. Or number 3 is you actually go for the turret kill right away, and at 5:48 into the game, that turret is going to go down. Solo mid, first blood and first turret blood, a great start here.
They are playing a lot stronger. It's like they want to get to the team fight game early in this matchup. We see them taking down that turret 6 minutes into this game. A good gold lead of about 2,700 gold. Actually, it's going to be 1,700 gold at this point. Reginald looking for some mana. We'll get a little bit there from the level, so he's going to try to clear this minion, get a good gold off that siege. And we can see mid lane now coming in with Chaos and Xpecial. They're going to start roaming around here. Reginald's going to be more than happy to start getting a lot of assists. Level 6, that Requiem is going to start doing some damage.
Well, these lanes are going to get better and better overall. They're already giving Aurelia a really hard time there, Shy. Now, what they need to do, though, is they have to keep Aurelia from farming back up and scaling back into this game. We saw this happen a few times where they opened up a really early opening and you know, put a lot of pressure on a lane and then kind of left it alone and let it farm back up. They don't need to just get turrets. They need to make sure that Aurelia has a tough time as well. They want to revisit top lane every once in a while and pick off Aurelia. She has no turret to run to easily. If they get behind her, she's got nowhere to go. They should set up a couple of more kills on Aurelia. Just space them out every few minutes and go for it.
No, grabbing the minion, they go for him still. They got him caught up very well. In great positioning by Chaos. He can't even pass through the bush.
Team Solo Mid really moving around the map, and they showed this with their very first level 1 fight with the Golem steal, and they got back to their own Golem as a group every single time, making these plays happen. Look at that, Solo Mid going for the Dragon now as well. They are playing as a cohesive unit. This feels a lot like that performance from Moscow 5 at Kiev, where no team was really ready for the types of plays made by this new coming team. Well, Solo Mid looks like they've done their homework and found something special here. They've gotten the Dragon, 2 kills, and a turret. This is a 3,000 gold lead at 7.5 minutes.
And a little bit of aggression here from Shy onto Dyrus. Shy wanting that back as soon as possible, wanting to get Dyrus down low and win that lane like he did last time. Team Solo Mid is really on the momentum after that loss. A 6-minute turret, a 7-minute Dragon, and they are poised to take the next one with that timer coming up at 13 minutes. We'll see if they're ready for it. The position they put themselves in with now having the AD carry down bottom with the support once again helps for that Dragon control, so swapping that lane out fast is really what they needed.
And it's going to be good overall. This is kind of how Solo Mid wants to play it, is by keeping the pressure on. And by having such a good top lane, Chaos and Xpecial are actually above Woong and Mad Life, so they can simply just go around to this bottom lane and bully it, almost like it were that 2v1 again. And because that shove top worked so well early on, even Dyrus is going to have an easy time at this top lane. He's got an assist there. He's only down 3 minions, but he's got a turret and Dragon to back up his gold. You can see he's going to be above Aurelia in farm. 2,300 to 1,900, you know, even without ever fighting one-on-one, Dyrus is above Shy. This bottom lane is better for Team Solo Mid as well, and of course Reginald, again, those global objectives on his side. Every one of these lanes for Solo Mid, because of the pressure of one group of players, is actually better on all sides.
Well, we see blue buff being donated over to Reginald as he nicely gives the odd one the smaller Golem. Going into this bottom lane here, Woong and Mad Life doing what they can to keep the aggression up. It does look like it's 54 to 69 going in favor of Chaos right now, being very strong in the lane, being able to push out Shy up top, and now having another farm lane to go through. This is so good for the AD carry, and Reginald known for farming as well, just continuously stealing rapes back and forth. The carries are going to get fed very well for TSM if they continue to keep this up.
Yeah, the difficulty for Azubu Frost as well is that they don't have exactly the right kind of roster to set up a lot of kills just yet. Vladimir, not the best lane roamer because he doesn't show up to a side lane with any crowd control. He's got to make sure that either Shy or Mad Life really sets something down to support that. Now, he can show up with damage, and if he comes on the back of Cloud Templar with Impale as soon as he's level 6, then okay, that's a decent gank overall. Vladimir is great at shoving lanes. He can roam and then show back up to a lane later on. So they potentially have the tools to make these fights go well, but it's really going to rely on Cloud Templar. He's now hit level 6. Let's see what he can do.
Here we go. Rapid Star getting hit up to the skies, goes down. makes himself untouchable with that pool, the Impale, but he was in pool while the Impale happened. They couldn't synergize the damage, and they turned around the kill for TSM, just not correlated correctly by Azubu.
And that was really, really unfortunate. You know, the jump went on, and it was really, you know, they didn't have time to spend there. They jumped onto Rapid Tower. He had to burn his cooldowns early. He had to pool before dying. And, you know, Cloud Templar tried to show up. He flashed Impale to pull something together, but he simply couldn't quite make that one happen. You know, and that was really, it was Solamid jumping onto that fight 2 seconds before it would have been disastrous. If they had waited around and been more patient, it would have been completely in Azubu Frost's favor there.
Missed grab right there. Statistically saying, now 11 minutes into the game, Azubu Frost off to their worst start, and TSM showing us the earliest dragon of the tournament. 3 minutes for that dragon to come back up at 3-0 in favor of TSM. That gold lead at 3,100 gold right now. TSM holds a small lead, but this is where they stop making mistakes. They know they have the small lead, and they know how to snowball that. They know how to carry it and continue to push down towers. After each fight, you will see TSM continuously going for turrets. Freak. They leave nothing to chance, and they know when they have openings.
Yeah, they're actually not even shoving this bottom lane for a turret right now. They're actually happy to let that lane kind of sit around. Especially taking a bit of poke as a result, though. He is getting hit by Woong's Ezreal quite a bit. You know, Woong very, very comfortable on the Ezreal. Is having a pretty good game overall. But you can see that bottom lane still really great for solo mid. 96 to 77 in minions. Chaos is having kind of the time of his life in that lane. You're seeing Dyrus actually still get out minion farm by Shy, and he came into that lane with an advantage, and you know, the minion kills are going the other way. However, remember that he's been spending time roaming. He came down to that bottom lane and forced that kill onto Rapid Star. I'll give up 10 minions too if it means a champion kill. So, you know, Dyrus, even though you're seeing him kind of statistically look a little bit worse in lane, remember that he's doing more things than just farming. That is a big deal for his team.
So the Dyrus is now up top. We'll see if he makes any moves within the next minute and a half. That Dragon objective will be up. The buff, a control for both teams. Way more lackluster than the first game. We saw Cloud Templar paying much more attention to that. But right now the grab onto Mad Life. Like we said, not somebody you really want to grab, but they're going to be able to burst down Tarek. The Requiem for sure to take him down. Woong just trying to get what damage he can in. 4-0, Team Solo Mid. The odd one coming off from the wing. The flash, Arcane Shift Flash. It's just under the turret, and he really plays that one, but he has to blow that Summoner Flash.
Yeah, that was a smart play overall, though. You know, good opening there by the Oblin. Burned his own flash to get into range for that. Did burn Woong's flash, and in the end, I think that's kind of worth doing, though. You know, burning an AD carries flash, you know, it doesn't. I mean, it does matter here for the odd one because he does have that Oracle Elixir. He's a very high-profile killer. They want to make him broke. Maokai does need items to be a tank. He's not like Alistar, where you can just press your ultimate and rely on not taking damage anymore. He does need items to scale throughout this game. But at the same time, making Woong more available to kills is always important as well, especially when you got a Blitzcrank on that roster who can really set those openings up.
So they do have Skarner down in that bottom lane. His red buff coming up, so Cloud Templar going to head up, possibly give this one down bottom to Woong, but I think he's going to take it for himself. They really haven't been too much success on the ganks. At 4-0, we saw a much faster game from Azubu Frost last time. They're very unsure of their fight initiations here. Frick, as you said before, the initiations really aren't ready for them yet. Their team hasn't scaled into that fighting stage. We did see the Moscow 5 kind of played this somewhat with the Eve game, as they had to wait till late until their champions scaled over higher. So right now, it's a very lackadaisical game for Azubu Frost.
They've really not made any major moves. They're kind of just relying on Skarner to make some early plays, and it just feels like their confidence got broken here. This feels a lot like what happened with Saigon Jokers against CLG EU in the last game of Group B, where all day they've been aggressive and making plays and making openings, and here we go.
Oh, the pull in once again. Madlight finding himself getting grabbed. The heals go out. They bait it in. He gets himself out alive, throwing down the ultimate to help his team with the aura. Ezreal coming up with a kill as Woong just left on the outside to punish down. Chaos looks to be dropping low and taken out by Cloud Templar. Finally a successful gank, putting Azubu on the board.
That is just enough members showing up just in time. Look at that fight. Cloud Templar not taking no for an answer, really picking out the pressure there.
They really need this turret. They start to gain map control with this, and Freak, the dragon has come up. They should go to check it because it would be the perfect time to take that. Reginald putting pressure on Rapid Star in the middle. The Hemo play goes down. Shy trying to put as much damage on to help that percentage tick, and it just wasn't really any damage.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I didn't really love Rapid Star's moves there, but even still, it did push Reginald away. That might have just been there to try to keep Solo Mid from actually trying to stop this Dragon attempt. They are running down, but Cloud Templar and Woong don't show signs of wanting to stop this. they're going to go for this pressure anyway. You do see that Reginald had to recall back, so there is no one to stop this Dragon attempt. A very nice comeback little push there. That's really, really good for Azubu Frost. They pretty much got that gold lead back now, only down 700 gold.
Yeah, that is going to help. Now the Dragons at 1-1 in the matchup. We're going to see that one again around 21 minutes coming in. But it just looked like TSM was not worried about that. We've heard TSM say in the past, a Dragon fight, if you're not ready for it, is not worth the loss of your teammates because of what they just lose over the time of being in the Death Chamber. You're not in lane to get experience. The buffs aren't coming out. And we see TSM, as they take Dragon, Azubu Frost is forced to go back a bit. They use that advantage for the bit turret.
This is the second time I've actually seen Azubu Frost kind of trade away one of their own turrets for an objective like Dragon. They were you know, very, very weak afterwards and had to give up that advantage. And I don't know, I think that's mostly Solomid making really, really good moves, knowing they can trade objectives away like that and are happy to take those leads. But it's still, it gives you that sort of pang of uncertainty there when, you know, Azubu Frost had map control and in the end, traded objectives equally for it.
So Freak, as you know, Azubu Frost does scale later into the game. We see the Rod of Ages and the Bloodthirster being finished for Team Solo Mid. Even if they do start to scale, the fact that they're behind and not creating these core items, what's going to be the next step to mitigate TSM Snowball?
So to mitigate TSM Snowball, they need to put some more pressure back on Reginald's Karthus. He had burned his flash, his exhaust is down, he's level 12 with a lot of power on that Requiem, but they need to you know, get in as many battles as they can before Rabbidan's Death Cap. That is a huge power spike there for Karthus. When you go back to SK Gaming's loss in the group stage, not to CLG, but one of the other ones, it was Ocelot was, I think, 40 gold away from finishing Death Cap when the game-winning push came in, and Ocelot was killed and had to cast Requiem without that surge of ability power. And after the Requiem landed, there were like 2 members of the enemy team below 100 health, where if he had just gotten 3 more minion kills and gotten back to base, that would have been a very game-turning fight, picking up a double kill there and keeping their base alive. So they want to put on as much pressure as possible before Reginald farms up more gold. He's currently sitting at 1,200. He's got another 2,200 gold to go before he can finish that item. Over the next 2,000 gold, Frost needs to put on a lot of pressure there, get some more turrets out, hope for another Dragon, maybe even a Baron bait, though it's unlikely here, and get that pressure going.
You can hear all the pings going out as all these teams communicating in the most minimal way possible so they can continue to keep the chemistry talk going. Huge onto Dyrus. He did not expect to find a 2v1 situation top and will find himself going down.
This is now the Cloud Templar show. He's got Oracle's Elixir and is going to have one of the best ganks in the game, being that Skarner. And there they found Rapid Star in the mid, though.
This is going to be bad. That Wall of Pain, however, already went down, so this is just going to be a chase of speed. Maokai on the backside, the Arcane Smash to slow him down. Twisted Advance coming up soon, and it looks like they'll be able to take him down. But here comes Woong and Mad Life. They are aggressive in their lane, and they will fight this one out to the end. You can see the flash in from Mad Life, not caring, going straight onto Mad Mode. Woong finds a kill onto the odd one. Rapid Star, or rather Reginald, is the chase right now from Shy. The flash over, and he's just going to walk through Defile happily. The exhaust goes down. That single target damage is going to be a lot of burst, and Reginald just really trying to do what he can before going down, but biding time for his team to do other things. Requiem onto Shy, and he does go down the 1-for-1.
Dude, Reginald, that was an incredibly sick move there. Caught out of position, but knew how much time he could build for an exhaust. He could land more shots. Knew Shy did not have cooldowns yet. You know, just kited and kited and kited and landed just enough damage. That last lay waste, all he needed to ensure that kill. I've got to hand it. That was a really, really good move from Reginald there, bringing that kill a little bit more equal. But the thing to remember, though, is Cloud Templar still has not fallen since buying that Oracle. He's still going to snowball this game through with a lot of map control.
The top lane is quite pushed. The items right now for Team Solo Mid, not very Baronable, but we've seen earlier Barons in these matchups. I believe the 15-16 minute Baron was our earliest, and that was Shy on Jax with Cloud Templar going in hard. I believe actually was the support there as well. Cloud Templar came in late, so that 2 for them was uncontested. Azubu Frost knows when to take scary chances. Here's one of them right now, but this one is completely in their favor. An Impale onto Chaos, and the wards not enough to keep him alive. They need to start worrying about map control.
That Cloud Templar, man, he's making the moves that we expected to see from Azubu Frost. most of their team really not very ganky overall. Shy had a bad matchup. Woong and Madlife were already zoning and pushing Dyrus to his turret. There were no openings there for Cloud Templar to make any ganks because you can't gank for Vladimir. There's just not any damage there, especially against a Karthus who's going to play in the back lines and farm safely. So, you know, that lineup, it did not look like anything Cloud Templar could have ganked for. But he finally hit level 6, and he finally had teammates with a lot of damage. And you've seen him now time and again. That one-on-one Shy versus Dyrus. Nope. 2-on-1, we got a Skarner here. That bottom lane, Chaos trying to get some farm. Nope, Skarner's here, another kill picked up. He is showing up over and over. Cloud Templar now 3, 1, and 2 is the #1 player of this game. The unpaused though, we're back into this game. Let's get it underway. We're still in game 2 of Azubu Frost versus Team Solo Mid. The team's only 300 gold apart. Solo Mid needs to win this game to stay alive. Azubu Frost wants to win this to make it to the semifinals. Guys in the audience, are you excited for this game?
Crowd here completely full. Downtown Los Angeles is beaming with summoners. LA Live, the place to be right now for the League of Legends Season 2 Championship Playoffs. Azubu Frost versus Team Solo Mid as they now go into this nail-biting match to keep North America in the League of Legends Championship. 6-6 at 20 minutes into the game. The gold is near even at about 500, actually 300 gold difference.
And this is going to be just neck and neck the whole way through. It's going to be the battle of who can get crazier initiates, because both these teams have a lot of scaling. Jace and Aurelia will scale similarly. Graves and Ezreal will scale similarly. Vladimir and Karthus will scale similarly. They've got tanks in the front line who are going to really set up a lot of difficult situations for both teams. But what you're going to see break these teams apart are 2 major factors. It's Rocket Grab and it's Flash, Aurelia's Reverie, and Pale. Both these teams have some kind of crazy initiation move to start team fights out in a really awkward situation. Neither of these teams have a full-on dedicated tank. There's no Shen, Alistar, or Malphite with like a Frozen Heart Randuin's to absorb damage for 7 days. It's bruisers converting themselves into tanks and trying to survive that initial impact. And so what's going to happen here is almost no matter who is pulled, someone's going to die in about 4 seconds. And it depends. Is it going to be the Impale on an important target? Is it going to be the Rocket Grab on an important target? Someone could die in seconds flat, and making that a 5-on-4 is all either team needs. You're seeing a 1% gold difference between these 2 teams. It means almost nothing. It's all going to be down to how the team fights happen, who orchestrates the battles. Even the turrets are split evenly. These teams are just 100% neck and neck.
It looks like Team Solo Mid trying to dictate what is going to happen from here on out. The oracles on both of the junglers to clear and sweep around the jungle, trying to give them that little advantage. It really is going to be the pull to happen, the correct impale to just go off. These fights are going to be an instant initiation as they come up. It looks like Team Solo Mid beginning to push mid. They don't have too much of a minion wave with them just yet. Just a few caster minions there with a melee in the front. That's going to be wiped out as Rapid Star coming up. Quite big now on that Vladimir. Actually, I believe he goes for the Abyssal Scepter and the Revolver. So he's helping his team out a little bit. Not that there's much magic to be helped out there in shredding, but that Hemoplague is going to be doing a good amount of damage as his team will synergize off the damage with that. So still a good build for him, but he's got to remember that AP comes from health as well. So he could go for that tanky build, but Freak, he put a lot of focus on that death cap for him, and he's just putting himself farther and farther away from it.
He's getting himself there pretty quickly, though. He's got not a lot of gold still to go for Reginald here. He's got, let's see, he's got the new large rod already, and he's at about 1,200 gold, and he needs 2,000 for the combine at this point. So at 800 gold, Reginald is going to surge up in power. Rapid Star, I don't love the Abyssal Scepter build here because he doesn't have another ability power champion to synergize with, but he's still going to be putting out a lot of damage in a team fight. But what this means, though, is that Rapid Star is relying more on his consistent damage with Ties of Blood and not so much burst control.
For the two shot riders, there's Hemoplague. The team really not there to capitalize on it. TSM backing off, but it looks like they are getting wiped out in this fight right here, especially on the odd one very low. They're able to get 3. Azubu Frost coming up huge on Team Solo Mid right now. Woong the focus, he flashes over Kayak buckshot. That's actually the arcane shift coming in, and the odd one now forced to run. Azubu Frost, I was about to say it as they took top turret. Once they start taking that map control, they start to pummel down lanes. Now winning that fight, they're going to be able to do exactly that. That team, however, close in HP. It was just all the members from TSM dropping before they could take the sliver of health away from Azubu Frost. Now, coming in with the Baron, Azubu getting most of every Baron they've ever had an attempt on in a match, whether it's a steal or not. And it looks like they're going to be able to grab this one for themselves, quite uncontested. The odd one sitting off in the wing. will do what he can, and he will not be able to get it. The smite comes out from Cloud Templar.
Nice job, Azubu Frost. That team fight was as perfect as it could have been. They got the Impale off on Dyrus. He went down early on. Dyrus unable to even flash or ignite, so you know he was pinned the entire way through. Chaos really on the receiving end of those attack speed slows. I thought he had the damage it would take to kill off Woong, but Woong just would not die in that situation. Picking that one up. Let's check out a replay with the Korean audio to see what Frost was saying about that fight.
제이스 마무리. 그 다음에 카오스 잡고 그 다음에 들어가. 마오카이 잡아줘. 마오카이. 나이스. 바로 와드.
And there you have it, guys. The coordination there, picking off targets one at a time in that duel at the end. Woong coming out ahead on Ezreal. That would have been a very important battle right there. If KX had picked up that kill himself, he had enough lifesteal to probably withstand Cloud Templar even, because there's not a lot of damage there on that Skarner. He might have been able to out-lifesteal it, but now up 10-7 in kills, 3,000 gold ahead with that Baron buff. There's not a lot of options here for solo mid. Azubu Frost, just like that first game, is going to want to put on a lot of pressure and go for some turret kills here.
So Cloud Templar now 4-1-5 Freak. Looking at his build, he is quite tanky. You said he doesn't have a lot of damage, but he can rely on that for his team. What's going to be next in his build?
For Cloud Templar here, he might see a Frozen Heart up next. He's going to want to be a big tank. There's a lot of physical damage output overall here between Dyrus and Kayax. It's a lot there. I don't think he's really going to itemize all that hard for Reginald, so I'm expecting a big armor item. Maybe it's Frozen Heart, maybe it's Guardian Angel, but he's going to want to be a big tank initiator, because we're at the point now where there's a lot of damage overall from solo mid, and he's still going to be that key initiator in a dedicated team fight, especially if solo mid are just, you know, safe in the background and just sort of relying on defensive play. They're going to be able to be defending themselves behind turrets, and Cloud Temple will have to dive in and actually initiate to make those fights happen. Woong gets a steal on the blue buff, but he's now getting chased down a little bit by solo mid, as he's going to make it out though, and it's going to be back to a split push here. Azubu Frost actually putting out a lot of pressure on the side lanes before going for a push. I'm surprised they're not trying to close this out a little bit better with just a consolidated shove in mid.
Yeah, they do have that Aurelia up top. Shy can definitely fend for himself, and he will meet Reginald up in that top lane. We can see Kaox now heading up there with the odd one. The split push is definitely going to give them an advantage here. They have Mad Life as well, throwing off the ultimate to give that AD out so they can just crush down this turret. And they move off of that one quite quickly. You see Ezreal farming down bottom lane as they pretty much are just try-pushing at this point.
And that's interesting because, you know, I feel like TSM are happy to fight smaller engagements because no matter where Reginald is, he can lend that Requiem. He's actually popped a blue elixir as well, giving him bonus cooldown reduction and ability power, which really does boost him up in these fights. We'll see if that matters too much there. Reginald is weird. He bought a second needlessly large rod. I would have really thought Deathcap was in there for him.
The Dazzle coming out to stop some of the reinitiation. Great job by Mad Life just staying there for that last second to stop anything that can happen. Shy now with his Guardian Angel coming out before that 30-minute mark. He also has the Triforce to do some explosive damage as he is in fight. Rapid Star still keeping the pressure on, and that Baron is really just giving them that play on the mentality of Team Solo Mid right now. They'd love to initiate, but they know the fight will not be in their favor right off the bat. This one, however, they do aren't able to get the initiation on. Team Solo Mid is still itching to get an initiation here.
Azubu Frost, they really are just playing that split push card and playing so well, but Cloud Templar getting caught out here at the bottom.
It looks like it's going to hurt pretty bad. There's the initiation with Requiem to keep the fight going. Turn the tide of this one. They are able to get down Cloud Templar. That shutdown will throw some gold their way.
That's really important too because he had oracles as well, so Cloud Templar must realize that while he can buy some items and get himself more powerful, he wants to probably rebuy that oracles. I wouldn't really trust Mad Life on Taric with an oracles. Taric is just a bit of a frail champion and is pretty easy to kill off in a team fight, so they don't want to really deal with that.
A good pull once again onto Mad Life. He just has pull written all over him, but they find Chaos out on the left side. TSM will engage on this. The Baron right now to Azubu Frost, and they are going to start losing a lot of solo mid members. Azubu Frost, however, somewhat pushed out of it. The 2-2 fight, the sliver of health on Azubu Frost's side. TSM with a sliver of health as well. They come out on top. Aurelia still in this one. We do see Cloud Templar is up, and it looks like the 3-3 overall.
I just want to point out that Xpecial saved Odd One's life. He rocket grabbed Vladimir, waited long enough for him to actually move over with Twisted Advance, which put him back in his own base and safe from Shy. That was an epic move right there. Managed to basically pull his teammate along with it and pick up a kill as a result, so still a close fight here.
Oh, they're going hard onto Shy here. The bounce up from crowd control. Arcane Smash as well, so they're more than happy to get the turret. Shy with the Guardian Angel still being quite aggressive. Getting that Phage proc on, he will slow. They may have a better chance to get out of this one, but Cloud Templar is so tanky right now. Coming in, but did not actually know what even got himself. That Giant's belt coming out, and it looks like he may actually be going for that tank, as we said before, Freak. No damage for him. He's just going to absolutely get to the front line.
Yeah, I kind of expected cooldown reduction from that Frozen Heart just to put out more damage with those with the crystal slashes, but it might just be a lot more durability. You might see Mallet that still feel a little bit weird. Maybe it's Sunfire. Maybe it's even just Warmog's armor. Just wants to tank everything out. There are really a lot of available builds here for Skarner. So whatever he kind of goes for, as long as he gets more durable, that's really the most important thing for him here. Now let's take a look at the overall roster here. Shy is having an amazing game here at 5-1. He was always the question mark for this team, being the newest member of that roster, replacing Woong in the top lane actually, as Woong went down to AD carry when Loco Doco left. Shy was always the question mark here. Is he good enough? Can he step in and fill Woong's shoes? Well, right now he is 5-1. Trinity Force, an untriggered Guardian Angel, and a Wit's End, putting out a lot of damage. Yes, I think he's doing quite well this game so far, and has been doing amazingly for his team overall in this tournament. Shy, I don't think really much more of a question mark, really more of an exclamation point now for this Azubu Frost lineup. Yes, a punctuation joke, thank you. Now Cloud Templar, though, he's still keeping the pressure on throughout the map. The one thing he hasn't done, though, is rebought Oracle's Elixir. So and they did actually put it on Madley. They said, you know what, Tarek, we think you will live in this fight. Go ahead and pick that one up. We'll hope to keep you alive. And this does play to one strength, though, is that TSM does not want to focus Tarek first in a fight. Now, if they pull him, he's almost certain to die right away. But if they don't, you can expect for Madlife to be the most ignored one on that lineup, because he will put out the least damage of everyone else there, because they don't want to pull him out early because he's not a big damage threat. So that may pay out in the end. It did allow Cloud Templar to buy a few more items.
Coming into this point in the game, 31 minutes in here. This is what we were talking about before. Azubu Frost has now reached those points of scaling that they need. Vladimir actually not choosing to go ever for the Rabadons, but into the Zonias. Where's the team fight going here? Is TSM going to want to find this in the jungle or an out in the open fight?
I think they're going to want more, sort of a little bit more out in the open, but still with some geometry there. They want to be able to land a rocket grab and land it without Azubu Frost being able to follow up easily. Because rocket grab only has so much range, and with Shirelius there on Skarner, the rest of the team can follow up pretty easily, and Skarner will pull someone back. But if they get a rocket grab like over a wall or into a turret, that's really the kind of fight that stalemate wants, because they can actually force some pressure here. If they grab Shy, though, it's not going to matter too much. They want to grab pretty much anyone else in that roster to make it happen.
There's the Shirelia steroid going off. It looks like they may see an impale here. No, they pull Shy, and then rather do not pull Shy, and they miss that grab. Rapid start going in. Pools under everybody. The damage going out. Chaos will fall. They're finding it special go down as well. So much health still. Shy, the Guardian Angel coming back up for him. They drop 3 members of TSM. Reginald now in death-defy form, and they may have their way with the base here. They don't have enough minions to push on. There's only 2 there, and Cloud Templar is quite hurt. He is the one to take that turret. Madlife may go down here, and he does, but they drop down Dyrus. The ace is there. Freak, the Nexus turrets are going down. Cloud Templar is so tanky. They're trying to thwart out Team Solo Mid, trying to stop that path to the championships, and Azubu Frost will knock out Team Solo Mid.
And just look at the emotions on their faces. The Nexus explode, the crowd cheer. Azubu Frost has moved themselves to top 4 in the world, with only 1 quarterfinal left to play, which will be tomorrow at noon. And look at that, we've found 3 teams knocked out here, 3 moving on to quarterfinals. Team Stalemate, a great run though. First place in North America, 5th through 8th in the world is still a great placing overall. Joining with them, Najee and Sword, the top 8 team, and Invictus Gaming is the top 8 team. Still a lot of great moments here today, but we have, of course, more great moments here tomorrow.
I gotta just ask from your perspective, what was it for Azubu Frost? Was it the compositions or just the mentality in game or something else?
It was 1 or 2 star players making really great moves, which I know counteracts what I said at the beginning, which was that everyone's really a great player. They're all going to do amazing things. But Skarner, gotta hand it to Skarner, making all the plays mid-game. Solo mid looked so good early on, and I said, Frost looked like what we saw from Saigon Jokers against CLG where they weren't making any big moves. They were letting the other team walk over them, letting the other team make all the big moves and play aggressively, and you saw Solo mid kill, 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 turret, kill, kill, and just making all the great moves early on. And finally, Cloud Templar said, okay, guys, level 6, let's get some fights going.
Yep.
And he found one every single time, with one exception where he went for the Impale on Reginald, and TSM still picked up the kill in mid on Rapid Star. Every other Impale used resulted in a kill. And I've got to hand it to Cloud Templar for being so reserved there. He only ever, in a team fight, only ever pulled Dyrus. He didn't care about killing Reginald because of Death Defied. Didn't want to kill the odd one or Special because they're tanks and it's okay if they go down first. Didn't want to go for KX because KX had Guardian Angel, or he could quick draw, or he could get out of that fight. Dyrus was not in that situation. He got Trinity Force and Brutalized before starting for Guardian Angel. He was not tanky for a very, very long time. Even though he had good farm and a couple of kills, Dyrus could not withstand that Impale into team fight. And that's really what Azubu Frost did, is when he finally got the Impale going on, they all collapsed. They have so much damage output. As long as Rapid Star landed his ultimate, Wound can just force someone down. Shy with so much damage output with E10 style, cuts through those resistances and was just dealing so much damage. The team collapsed. Dyrus would almost always go down very, very quickly in those fights, and everyone else was able to be cleaned up. It's an area of effect team. Cloud Templar's Crystal Slash, a lot of damage everywhere. Shy's ultimate, those blades going everywhere, picking out kills, and of course Vladimir just does it indiscriminately at all times. The whole of TSM would just take damage, but they would focus that one target, take down that high-profile champion, and then continue on with a numbers advantage over and over. Especially made some good moves early on with rocket grabs, but he was not able to pick off those early team fight kills.
All right, guys, so let's see what this means for the brackets as we come up to our games tomorrow. North America now out of this tournament as Azubu Frost comes in quite strong, Freak.
Yeah, we've got now 2 Asian teams making it in, at least 1 European team, and now we're going to see, right, we've got Taiwan, Europe, or more specifically, Russia. Got Korea still in this tournament. They did beat out North America, but who will that 4th team be? Is it going to be from China, the last Chinese team left, or Counterlogic Gaming Europe, making it a 2 European semifinal? The way we've got a battle of West versus East, at least starting off the day tomorrow, and at least one more in that semifinal. We'll see which continent's got the better players.
You know, Azubu Frost came into this game high on mentality and high on wins. Like we said, all these teams birthed into the qualifiers, or the semis or quarters. It was just going to be so big. They realized Karthus was in the game, and you could see that in each of their lane plays. We're going to get a replay coming in of that last push.
열어볼까? 오케이, 지금 슬슬 깨봐. 사우스 벽 빠졌고. 아, 연막 때문에 안 보여. 잠깐만. 앞에부터. 그레이브즈. 일단 제이스 땡겼거든? 제이스 땡겼어. 카오스 마무리해야 돼.
카스 이겼어.
게임 끝낼 수 있냐?
끝낼 수 있어 밀어.
나 죽었다.
끝낼 수 있을 것 같은데.
끝내.
너네가 탱 좀 해줘야 돼.
나이스.
에이스야.
And there you see it. They were again poised and ready. They knew they had won. It's just that moment that strikes you when you know it's done.
Yeah, and that was just great. You saw him. You know, he was dead, but headphones go off. We got this, guys. We're moving on. Amazing job. So that's it for the games today. We've got another quarterfinal and the semis tomorrow. Let's kick it over to the stage to Rachel to see what's up with the Azubu Frost. What are their thoughts on their victory?
Thank you so much, David and Rivington. Woong, your team just beat the biggest, the strongest team from North America. How does that feel?
솔로미드는 팀에서, 그러니까 북미에서 되게 잘 나가는 팀이기도 하고, 저희가 팀 처음 만들고 나서 되게 사정사정하면서 스크림으로 배워가던 팀이에요. 그래서 그런 팀 이겨서 정말 기분 좋고 최선을 다해서 정말 이번에 정말 후회 없는 경기한 것 같아요.
Since we started the team, Azubu Frost, Team Solomid was one of the teams that we really begged to scrim with and learned a lot from. But from this victory, we're really glad. We're really happy that we were able to win, and we really want to thank Solomid.
That's sportsmanship, guys. You can clap for that. So, Woong, how much of your strategy did you work with Azubu Blaze to formulate? Because Azubu Blaze famously dominated TSM the first time they came to America, and now you're repeating the performance.
아주부 블레이즈. 블레이즈 팀이랑 항상 스크림을 하고 저희 형제 팀이니까 정말 숨기는 거 없이 모든 전략을 공유하고 팀 솔로미드를 깼던 그 노하우 같은 것들 그런 것들 그러니까 자세하게 말로는 할 수는 없지만 같이 연습 경기를 해주면서 정말 블레이즈가 정말 형제 팀으로서 모든 걸 숨기지 않고 알려주는 걸 느꼈고 정말 블레이즈한테 감사하다고 얘기하고 싶어요.
Azubu Frost, we definitely, as a partner team, we learned a lot from their strategies. We used to practice a lot, even though we can't disclose everything that they said, but we want to thank Azubu Blaze also because we were definitely able to learn from them and learn about solo mid also. So thank you to Azubu Blaze.
Now, tomorrow, you're going up against the winner of CLG EU and Team World Elite. What are you thinking? Which one do you want to make it through?
일단 그 월드 엘리트든 CLG 이유든 저희가 스크림에서든 그 실제 경기에서도 실제 이겨본 적이 있었고 어느 팀이 올라오든 정말 최선을 다해서 이길 생각이에요.
We've both scrimmed with CLG EU and World Elite before, and we have won against them. So tomorrow, with the best of luck, we're going to try our best to bring home victory.
Excellent words, spoken like a true leader. I look forward to your games tomorrow. I'm going to hand it over to Riven Freak and DJ Wheat. They're going to talk about the matches today and let you know what to expect tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here, Rivington the Third, Freak, and the one and only DJ Wheat joining us to discuss the last teams to qualify for the semifinals. So, Wheat, what are your predictions?
You know, actually, before we talk about the predictions, I just want to ask you guys a question, right? Yeah. Watching this game, obviously, the home crowd here is cheering for TSM, right. Yeah. And I'm realizing that this is actually a $75,000 game, right? That the winner is just automatically going to be adding $75K to their winnings. What do you think was more important to TSM? That $75,000 or actually just having a place in the semifinals of this competition?
I think it's having a place in the semifinals because when you're in the game and you're in the moment, it doesn't really matter what the dollar amount's worth. It's what the game means to you as a team, and it's about competing and being on top and moving forward. I think that TSM would rather win a $40,000 tournament than get last place and win $50,000 in a tournament. They would rather prove themselves the best in the world and move forward and be recognized as awesome than just getting money. It's more about the sport than really the earnings.
I think it was Dyrus who said one of the worst feelings in the world is losing in that interview video. So these guys were definitely going in, not to take anything away from TSM. When they started, maybe that would have been the case, when it wasn't this big and it was kind of just for that fun of the play. But at this point, with what the reputation comes with being the world champion, with Season 1 being so big, Season 2 bigger, and Season 3 going to be astronomical, they really wanted this spot.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what potentially is going to happen tomorrow. Obviously, World Elite and CLG EU going to be taking the stage first here for Day 3. And an interesting change of pace. If CLG EU wins, they will have to be, they'll be the only one of the few teams who plays 2 games on Day 3. So I want to talk a little bit about this. What do you guys think about that going into it? Should they be able to defeat World Elite? And what do you guys think about, that matchup in general?
I think I think as far as playing twice in a row, I don't think it's a big detriment or advantage. I think you could talk about they're going to be more warmed up, but there's practice computers for the other teams that they can scrimmage and be warmed up just the same way. So that I think is a bit of a moot point. And as far as researching and preparing for the next matchup, I think we're almost too late in the game to do that. That these teams had to put in the research before the tournament. When we were talking before that first game really started, we're saying that it's more important that you get a good night's rest and eat and just kind of be rested and ready to go than stay up till 5 in the the morning watching tape of your opponents, because you probably should have done that in the weeks leading up to this tournament. And that really these teams, if they're going to be ready, they're already going to be ready. And it's more about how you play on game day, and I think that's going to be the same whether you're playing 1 or 2 best of 3s in the matches.
Now, there might also be a lot to say just about the momentum you gain from winning. You know, in a major stage like this on the final day, possibly going to that grand finals, you get that momentum with the win, may not even matter. I think I agree with you, Freak. You're either prepared or you're not.
Yeah, it really is a factor of adaptation. Like Freak said, the homework needs to be done already, and it needs to be just solid from here on out for each team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these guys are going to be ready, right? They're world competitors. Moscow 5 and Taipei Assassins have one best of 3 to determine who makes it forward. CLG EU, Team WE, one of those teams is going to have 2 matches to play. We just saw Azubu Frost. They 2-0'd. They've still not dropped a match all tournament. They've only got 1 match to play as well, and they want to see who's going to make it on to the World Finals. They're taking place on October 13th. It's a week and a day away. Of course, tomorrow's match is still super important as well. Those are the qualifiers for that matchup. It's $1 million on the line for that grand final. Of course, again, bringing it back here, we've still got a quarter and 2 semis to play.
And that's going to be a lot of money that these teams can put under their belt, but it is all about that position, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up tomorrow, 12 noon Pacific, 7 p.m. Central European, and 4 a.m. in Korea, we'll begin the last quarterfinal match between Team WE and Counter Logic Gaming Europe. Then we'll have 2 epic semifinal matches to decide who will compete at the grand finals, the Galen Center, just a week from today. I'm Rivington Bisland III for Freak, Jad, D-Man, our hosts, DJ Wheat and Rachel Querico, and the entire crew for the Season 2 World Championships. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.